Well, hello everyone out there in the football world. I am your host Sanders of the Head Couch Analyst Show, and as normal, I am joined by my dynamic duo over here, Pardue. Hey man, it was a 2-0 week for the Head Couch Analysts again. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling good. The whole kick six to end the half thing was really ugly. I got a little bit emotional on the timeline. I think this was honestly the first game in the Cliff Kingsbury era where in the first half I was like just about done. And I was extremely frustrated with the play calling, the situational play calling, the call to kick a 68-yard field goal at sea level with how humid and hot it was that day. There was no way that thing was going through. And then when you're trusting a bunch of offensive linemen and a kicker and a punter to tackle Jamal Agnew, who runs a 4.3 and just returned a kickoff the week before, like that was just it was extremely frustrating. But you know what? They came out in the second half. The offense turned it on. Byron Murphy got the pick six that gave us the lead, and then they rode to the end. So as long as you didn't lose the Jags, not a big deal. We're on to the Rams. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game this weekend.
So it must feel really bad to be Matt Prater that day. Not only do you just fail like the longest kick in NFL history, but then you learn like 3 hours later that your longest kick in history is no longer the longest kick in history because Justin Tucker so happened to beat it. It feels so bad. And let me tell you right now, when it comes to like how my weekend was, I just screamed at the TV, kind of like that. You know that video of that black dude when he's like, "That's why he's the GOAT, the GOAT." Right, that was literally me just screaming at my TV, with no one around me. By the way, I was the only one in my living room. Like no one was home. It was just me, and I was just screaming at the TV as loud as I could. And my throat was on fire after. And I'm so happy that I own a Justin Tucker jersey and was wearing his jersey when it happened. So. Yeah. Before we go on to the rest of our bird watching segment, let's introduce our guest for today. We have Johnny Kinsley from the Deep Ball Project on here. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about yourself for our audience before we continue. Who do you root for? Who are your teams? How are you in football?
Okay, so I'm currently what they call a Browns fan. I have been a masochist Browns fan for quite some time. That is until recently when he finally started becoming good or whatever. And then, kind of down the road, I think like between like 2017 or 2018, I became kind of like somewhat of a Panthers fan because I loved Cam Newton, like one of my favorite quarterbacks ever. And then he kind of left, but I just felt like, you know what? I might as well just stick it around. Like I've been watching the Panthers for as long as I have, so hey, might as well stick with them. And it's actually been going pretty well this year because they're 3-0. Like they're one of the best teams by record, and have one of the better defenses, aka one of the best pass rushes in the league. So don't think I'm really stopping anytime soon.
Yeah. Not bad to be a Panthers fan. I'm really happy to see my guy Sam Darnold doing well over there. I always tried to believe in him even when he was doing badly, and I always told myself, maybe it was just copium, but I always told myself, I'm like, it's Adam Gase. It has to be Adam Gase. Darnold isn't this bad, yeah. Right? And every time Darnold had a bad game, I'm like, it can't be him. It's not him. Like it's gotta be the coaching. Like I was just one of those people who was becoming a Sam Darnold apologist, and now that he's doing well at the Panthers, I feel very validated and vindicated about it. Anyways, so
right.
As for our bird watching segment, we're going to be pretty short about it with you guys. I know we got a lot of Cardinals fan listeners, so if that's what you came for, sorry, it's going to be really short, not going to be the 15 minutes we had yesterday. But real quickly, from the Baltimore side of things, I think my only quick things I want to say, and we can get more in depth to it next week, or maybe not next week because we have another guest next week. But when we don't have a guest, we can get more in depth to it, or when they have another big game. Marquise Brown had 3 critical drops again, 2 that were going to be for touchdowns, 1 that was also in the end zone. Not a good look for him. Definitely went back to his old habits. Sammy Watkins had a couple drops too, but Sammy Watkins also had the clutch catch at the very end on 4th and 19. The passing game just, oddly enough, I think this was one of Lamar Jackson's highest regular season pass yard games. It was like I think it was 287 was what it was. Ironically, for it being his highest, the receivers did not look good, and it definitely could have been an over 300-yard game and wouldn't have needed a miracle kick to win the game if, the wide receivers had just done their jobs. There's something to be said about how the defense for Baltimore, specifically in the middle of the field, is not working as well as I thought. Patrick Queen is definitely not looking as good as he did last year. Some tackling issues going on specifically there. So not a lot of positivity out of a win from me this week. You got anything on Arizona, Purdue?
So first of all, I just want to address the first half for the most part, because when the Cardinals came out in this game versus the Jags, what I saw out of them was a lot of what I saw from them last year. They were playing down to their competition again, which I think that's what truly held the Cardinals back. I felt like there was a maturity level and a leadership level that was lacking from the Cardinals last year, and that's what made them play down to their competition so often. And then they could go out and beat teams like the Bills and the Seahawks and stuff like that. But then they lose back-to-back games to teams like the Lions and the Panthers last year. So when they came out in the first half and were struggling to get the ball moving offensively, Cliff Kingsbury was calling pass plays on 3rd and 1 instead of, utilizing James Conner and Rodney Hudson, two big off-season additions to address your rushing attack. Instead of, running on 3rd and 1 on the first drive, you're trying to force a pass to A.J. Green in tight man coverage, and if it falls incomplete, you have to punt. That's something I've been seeing through the first 3 weeks of the season, is just situational play calling for Cliff has been questionable at times. Now, I'm not going to complain too much, because for the first time in franchise history, in the first 3 games of the season, they put up 400 yards and 30 points in every single game. And they're 3-0. So I'm not going to complain, but it's a little red flags here and there like that. And then obviously the whole attempting the 68-yard field goal before half was obviously, it was a bad call. I think if you're inside a dome and you're not literally at sea level, okay, then that's probably an okay call there to make with Matt Prater. But in that situation, with how humid it was, with how hot it was, with Jamal Agnew back there, I thought it was a bad call. I had a really ugly feeling the second Matt Prater ran out there, and, sure as shit, Jamal Agnew ends up in the end zone, and we're trailing at halftime. Now, they came out in the second half, offense turned it on, defense played really well throughout the entire game. They only gave up 13 of the 19 points that were allowed. So the defense played really, really well. The run defense is something that's starting to concern me a little bit. Yeah, we stopped Derrick Henry in the first week, but now, for example, the Jags had a scoring drive where they ran 8 plays, all of them were runs, and it went for a 75-yard touchdown drive. And that just can't happen, especially against a really poor Jags team. Overall, I'm not going to complain too much. Like I said, they're setting franchise records. Kyler has over 1,000 pass yards through the first 3 games, and I know this team is going to get better as the season goes on, and Cliff's going to call games better. But, it is what it is. You got any thoughts, Johnny? Because I believe you said you wanted to talk a little bit on the cards, specifically something about D-Hop and the offensive line.
Yeah, when I sat down to watch the offensive line initially, I thought I saw a lot of pressure, that was caused by the offensive line. But then after the game, when I checked ESPN's statistics, I found that they were the Cardinals only gave up 1 quarterback hit, which I felt was kind of surprising. So then I went back through it, and then there were a couple of people in my comments. I think you said it too, that Kyler does have a bit of a tendency to kind of leave a clean pocket, which is something I do agree with. It's something I do agree with, but it's also one thing that hasn't really mattered as much as it could, because whatever Kyler Murray does, he usually just makes a play on his own, even if it's not necessarily I don't know, maybe the kind of play that you would that is structured or whatever, whether it's his height or whatever that's causing it. But going back through it, the pass protection was really good for the time being, and I think ESPN has them fourth in pass block win rate right now. I tweeted a bunch of that out today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me see. 67%. They're just behind the Browns, Eagles, and Rams. So that's that's pretty good. Considering offensive line was one of the biggest concerns coming into the season. Like it's always a concern, but like they do have guys like Josh Jones and Justin Pugh. I don't know if I butchered his last name or not, but
Justin Pugh, yeah.
Justin Pugh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, like those guys have been really high on ESPN's blocking metrics. I'm pretty sure like they're both in the top 10 as far as guards go for pass block win rate, and they've just been one of the best guard blocking tandems in all of football right now, which is really helping out this Cardinals offense. So going through it, I'm kind of concerned because the Cardinals started off like really, really bad, like as you guys said, kind of playing down its competition. But luckily, that return from Agnew didn't really like mess things up as much as we all thought. Especially since like they were down by 9 like sometime in the third quarter, and they were able to like come back from resilience and like ultimately win a game by 2 scores, which is it's pretty encouraging to me. And like basically say what you will about a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, but I do think like one benefit that he's had on this season is he's putting more on Kyler Murray's shoulders, whereas like previous seasons he wouldn't really stretch the ball down the field quite as much. Well, in this season it seems like he is doing it a lot more, which like a lot of fans are like, oh, like you're putting too much in him. But honestly I think that's perfect because giving Kyler Murray that much more control over the offense is exactly what you need from a franchise quarterback. It's exactly what this Cardinals offense needs with guys like AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins wasn't really effective on Sunday, but obviously that's because he was injured. But then AJ Green steps in and he had his first 100-yard game with the Cardinals, and he looked pretty good doing it as well. I think James Conner had a really good game. Like I watched a bit of his stuff, and he was getting like consistent first downs from what I saw. So yeah, I think like Kyler Murray's numbers weren't really sexy, but he was also pushing the ball consistently, and that's ultimately like all that this offense needed, or like this team needed to come through and get a 3-0 start.
So the only thing I have to say, and I hate being the negative one, I'm only going to be because we've spoken so much positivity, so I'll let the Cardinals fans just at me on this one. I still would like to avoid the what the fuck interceptions by Kyler Murray, because it happened again on the same throw as it has almost every time. I've said week 16 against the Rams, he threw that exact same pass, intercepted by the safety. Last week, he threw that exact same pass, intercepted. This week, he threw that exact same pass, intercepted. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's like a thing to where like Kyler sees his reads, right, and he sees that the safety's not supposed to be there, so if he throws it towards the goalpost where his receiver's supposed to be, bing, bang, boom, it's a touchdown play. And I don't know if he's just ignoring the fact that it's possible safeties are adjusting to that route happening, because the safety's the final backup on that one, right? Like if the man gets beat, right, whether it's a corner, linebacker, whoever's covering him from that position that's routing over to the post, it's the safety's job to back them up, right? And maybe I should go back and look at all 4 of those interceptions from the start of the play just to see where that safety is at, so I know what Kyler's seeing beforehand. And if I can confirm to myself, okay, he sees this, so he thinks this is going to happen, and he's not adjusting mid-play, right? He's just saying, this is what I see pre-snap, so therefore this throw is a go, right? Because on most of those throws that he's made, he kind of doesn't hesitate on the throw. He kind of just hikes the ball, looks down the center, and throws it. So I feel like it's designed called play, and he doesn't see that safety adjustment, and boom, it's the same interception every freaking time. So I need to go back in the film now. Now that I've watched each one live, I'm like, all right, let me go back, look at the replays, and actually see what's going on. So other than that, Kyler Murray's been one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch literally all season, these last 3 weeks, and also last season too, but yeah.
I think my final thought on the situation with the Cardinals, and then we can move on. Is looking back in a game that, with the way it played out, especially as the end of the first half, that's a game that Cardinals would have lost in the first 2 years under Cliff Kingsbury. So I think it plays to the maturity of this team now and the leadership on this team now that they were able to come back and win that game. And going back to like you mentioned, the Kyler interceptions, like wholeheartedly agree. He's got to find a way to clean that up, especially if he's going to help this MVP stock. You got to quit hurting that stat line.
All right, so we have our guest here, and we always like to talk about our guests for a little bit. So, Johnny, we got a couple questions for you. First of all, you headlined this thing called the Deep Ball Project, which Pardew and I have both looked into, but I know most of our listeners probably don't know what it is because most of our listeners are Cardinals fans, right? So, go ahead and tell us, what is your Deep Ball Project?
The Deep Ball Project is something that I came up with during junior year of college. It was several years ago, and I was watching guys like Aaron Rodgers and Tony Romo slinging the ball downfield, and I figured, hey, what if there's a cheap alternative way to quantify all this? And I figured, hey, I have a NFL Game Rewind subscription, because that's what it was back then. Game Pass was installed the year after. Like, this was Game Rewind that they had. So with that, I was able to watch every game and then chart all these throws that occurred to a certain length of the field. Back then, it was 16 yards down the field. Now it's 21 yards at least. It has to travel from the line of scrimmage. And basically, what I do with that is I take a look at the accuracy, whether the pass is caught or not. It doesn't really matter as long as it's placed in. Of course it matters, but as long as it's placed in, the receiver's breadbasket, he doesn't have to make an unnecessary adjustment. I'm pretty lenient with what's considered an accurate pass. So drops are included. If it's if he had to make an unnecessary adjustment, I take that away from his accuracy percentage, even though it could be complete or not. So yeah, I take a look at that, and every year I've added a bunch of new statistics accuracy in a clean pocket, play under pressure, interior pressure, edge pressure, throwing into open windows, throwing into tight windows, throwing under play action, throwing in the shotgun, throwing from under center, all that stuff. And also inside and outside pocket, which as you probably may have figured out, Kyler Murray tends to do quite a bit. So it's definitely evolved over the last 6 years, and it's obviously not a perfect statistic because it's I haven't really figured out a way to quantify passer rating yet. Maybe one of these days I will, but as far as the main focus of the Deep Ball Project, it's accuracy percentage. People can certainly use it for whatever agenda they want, whether it be oh, this guy has the most deep passing attempts, or this guy has the most deep passing yards, or touchdowns, or interceptions, or whatever. So, I also don't try to force it down everyone's necks. Yeah. So basically, for me, it's all about accuracy percentage. But in terms of how I want other people to see it, it's it goes in a multitude of ways. So if they want to if they want to judge it by passing yards, then I strongly encourage that as well.
So. This is a joke, by the way, but basically it's going to be ESPN stats or PFF, and we're going to use it for when it fits our agenda, and we'll speak against it when it doesn't fit our agenda, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Wouldn't want any other way.
I mean, that's how all stats places are, right? And there are some stats places that I really, really like. Over the years, I have come to actually enjoy passer rating for what it is. There are some games where you're oh, the quarterback did decently, but then the passer rating says 88, and you're well, that's not that great, right? But then you kind of look at the numbers, and let's say you looked at a 300 passing yard, 3 touchdown game, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns. You think that'd be more than 88, right? But then you see, oh, they had an interception. Oh, they only completed 50% of their passes. So even though they had 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns, they still had an interception and only completed half their passes, right? Turns out, statistically, not a great game. It's just a game, it's just a stat line that won the game, and 330 yards and 3 TDs is enough. But if you're doing it on limited completions and you're doing it while only completing half your passes, I've found QBR is more of like, I feel like it's more of an efficiency rating. Like, how good were you and how efficient were you at doing your job? And that's more of what I realize QBR is. And unfortunately, when you read media, whether it's like NFL.com or ESPN articles or anything like that, or even like on shows, when they say they had a QBR of 130, how good is that? And it's like, well, the guy who had the same stat line also had a QBR of like 90. He just did not achieve those 300 plus yards as efficiently. Why are we using this as the end all be all? So I think it's a good way for you to look at, how your quarterback is doing so well. And I would argue that's why Lamar's QBR, not to go to my quarterback, but like his QBR was so high during his MVP season because he was getting so many touchdowns on not a lot of passes because they would run the ball down the field and then pass it in the red zone, right? That's efficient. That's not fantastic, quarterbacking, or you're carrying by like 300 or 400 yards every game. So that's how I feel about stats like that. And I can't wait to see where your deep ball project goes, man. I think it's very cool. I think it's an awesome idea. Thanks for giving us some insight on that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, also Kyler Murray ranks pretty high in the deep ball project, so.
Yes, sir. That's why I reference it all the time.
That doesn't surprise me.
That makes Carlos fans happy for sure.
So is it? So I would imagine I'm gonna take a guess here, okay? Not having looked at it I looked at it a couple weeks ago, right? Not having looked at it since then, I'm gonna guess maybe not this season, but in general, Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Murray. I would imagine maybe Dak Prescott is up there too when it comes to the deep ball project. Are those usually the guys that are up there?
Yeah, and I don't know if you said it. I think the feed might have cut off for a sec. But Wilson's also a guy that's way up there.
He's got the moon ball. Yeah, he's got.
Those are usually like some of the top 10 guys on there.
Yeah, Wilson's got a gorgeous moon ball, no doubt about it. Perfect placement almost every time. So,
absolute moonshot.
Yeah. So, Pardue, you got any questions for him personally before we move on to our picks for the week?
I mean, I think other than that, no, not really. I mean, are you working on any other projects right now? Like anything you got big coming up you want to promote?
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was just asking if you have like any other projects or any other things you're working on, kind of like related to anything you're working on in regard to the NFL, just you wanted to promote. You got anything else you got going on?
Not necessarily with the deep ball project. However, like I do keep track of quarterback hits, pass rush win rate, pass block win rate. So that's something I do after every Monday night when all the teams are done. And no one else is, like, not a lot of people are really keeping track of that either. So it's always good to keep track of it in my Google Docs. So I always try to do that every week.
Good, man. Well, good stuff. I appreciate like the work you do because I actually really like looking at kind of insight and stuff like that. And I know I don't have the patience to do it. So thanks for doing all the work for me.
It's the least I could do.
All right. So let's get on to the picks for the week. We're going to skip our storyline segment normally, and if there is a storyline to talk about for a team, we'll probably talk about it during our picks. So our pick'ems might be a little bit longer than normal, but we usually start our pick'ems at the 40-minute mark, and here we are at the 25-minute mark starting. So bear with us if we like to go on with the stories. This Thursday night, and Johnny, you are welcome to make a pick. You are welcome to say anything you want. No pressure. If you don't want to make a pick, you're not that kind of guy. That's cool. We got the Jaguars and the Bengals this Thursday. So we finally have our first awful Thursday night game, and now that I've said that, it's going to be a banger. But on the real, though, I don't expect the Jaguars to perform well. If we really think about it, that Jaguars-Cardinals game, the most recent one they played, because they had an abysmal showing week 1, they had an abysmal showing week 2, and they had quote-unquote signs of life against the Cardinals. They had signs of life because 6 points were given to them by Cliff Kingsbury. If we take away those points, it's a 13-31 game. Like, who cares? That's how I feel about it. Like, who cares? It's a 13-31 drubbing. And I know the score was 19-31, but regardless, it was a game that had excitement in it, but I don't think it was a game where you, like, look at the Panthers and you're like, yo, this team improved. Because I really don't think they did. As for the Bengals, dang, they beat the Steelers handily, by the way, and the weapons are worked together, and I would finally, after not necessarily defending him, because I've not defended him, but I haven't said fire Zach Stacy either on this show yet. I've always been like, let's see what he does, right? Because his first year didn't look great. And then Joe Burrow was hurt, and it was like, let's see what he does this year. 2-1, looking positive. And here's my pick. I'm pretty sure Cincinnati wins this game against Jacksonville, mostly by default, but that means a 3-1 start for the Bengals, A. And B, if they start 3-1, even if the Browns and Ravens win their game, the Bengals will be statistically on top of the AFC North through the first quarter of the season. How fucking insane is that one?
Yeah, that's a pretty scary thought, especially since Zach Taylor was supposed to be fired at this time.
It's probably not going to be happening with the 3-1 start. Pardue, what you got on this matchup?
From what I saw from the Jacks, what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence through the first 3 weeks of the season has been pretty rough. So I know it's early and it's maybe not fair to judge. And I think the whole USC job thing and the whole thing with Urban Meyer is kind of a joke. I mean, what if it's not a joke? And what if it's just being kept under wraps? I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon, but at the end of the season, I'm not sure Urban Meyer is going to be still around because it seems like to me he's in over his head. Now, Lawrence, I don't know what he's going to be yet. To me, even going back to college, there was regression from his first year starting going forward through all of his years in college. And now he's coming into his first rookie year, so I'm not going to knock him or anything, but Josh Rosen had a better start to his professional career than Trevor Lawrence has. And Trevor Lawrence has better weapons. And it's not close. So I'm not trying to compare Trevor Lawrence to Josh Rosen or anything. Trevor Lawrence could end up being an incredible NFL quarterback. But if it weren't for 3 additional dropped interceptions by the Cardinals defense just in this last game, he would have 10 picks in the first 3 games of his career. He's on pace already at this moment for 41 interceptions this season. So that's really hard to pick a team when your quarterback and your coach seem like they're really drowning in their situation. So, yeah, I'm going Bengals here, especially with Joe Burrow and the way he's connecting with his weapons.
Johnny, you got anything on this?
Yeah, I will say about the Steelers-Bengals game, I do think the Bengals were a better team than the Steelers because the Steelers at this point, they have a great pass rush, they have a great defense, but that offense is just absolutely abysmal, and it's really because Ben Roethlisberger can't throw the ball past 3 yards past the line of scrimmage for reasons that he's old. That's the reason. He's 39 years old, and they brought him back because they really couldn't bring another quarterback because they were desperate for anything. So I will say I was really surprised about the offensive line. The Steelers did not have T.J. Watt at all, but they still had a bunch of other talent on that pass rush. They got 0 sacks and 0 quarterback hits on Joe Burrow's offensive line, on Joe Burrow all game, which really surprised me because that just feels like an absolute failure. Not only to get 0 quarterback hits, against any team, but the Bengals, your division rival at home. That's got to be one of the most humiliating things the Steelers have faced in quite some time. So I will say the Bengals are a better team. They're, I don't know, strangely a better coach team than the Jaguars. Although, I don't know if that's really saying much. They have a better defense, better offense. So even if the coaching is subpar, which it most likely will be, I still got the Bengals in this one.
I think one thing I'm going to start paying attention to now, because, like I said, I haven't called for Zach Stacy's head. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt because his rookie quarterback got hurt, right? Now that they're 2-1 and they're scoring some points, right? And even in the game that they lost, it wasn't an abysmal loss. There was two really bad throws by Joe Burrow, one deep where he just missed a quarterback. He missed T. Higgins straight up. T. Higgins was wide open down the sideline to the left, and he just missed him. Like, it went out of bounds. It wasn't even close to Higgins. So that's on Joe Burrow, right? That's not on the play call. Like, it's a fantastic play call. Like, probably a touchdown if Joe Burrow nails it, right? Secondly, his second bad throw was an interception, and it was awful bad. And then there was a third one that wasn't necessarily Joe Burrow's fault. It got batted at the line, intercepted, went for a pick six. I think that's a bad day. It was against the Bears. If those two interceptions I shouldn't say those two interceptions don't happen. If one of those interceptions, the batted one, the unlucky one, and if Joe Burrow nails that touchdown, I'm pretty sure we'd be talking about a 3-0 Cincinnati team, which is weird to say. There's always this fine line between winning a game and losing a game, right? Like you could argue that Baltimore should be 0-3. You could argue that the Chiefs should be 3-0, but Baltimore's sitting there at 2-1 instead of 0-3, and the Chiefs are sitting there at 1-2 instead of 3-0, right? Like, it's very easy to argue these types of things. So I want to look forward to how Zach Stacy moves forward when things get tougher. So not necessarily this Thursday, but afterwards. Assuming you're 3-1 this week, right? After you assumingly beat the Jaguars, where do you go from there, right? How do you stay on top? Because you got to keep it going, right? It's cool to build yourself an early lead, but we all know, like Bill Belichick says, nobody knows who their team is until late October, early November. So we'll see what happens when that goes by there. We both picked Pardew and I both picked Cincinnati. Johnny's got Cincinnati too. On to the next one. I mean, honestly, I'm already at that point in the season where I'm picking a team that I'm never going to pick unless I want to go for an upset. It's the Titans versus the Jets. For obvious reasons, I'm picking the Titans. I'm not going to give a lot of analysis on this one, honestly. I do think the Titans' offense has been disappointing for how hyped up it was. It still goes through Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are not what we thought they would be, at least for right now. And I really do think they miss Arthur Smith at offensive coordinator. That being said, they're playing the Jets. Zach Wilson has not looked great. And back in the draft, I tweeted out when the Jets drafted Zach Wilson that they made a mistake. I was very firm in that take. Not a lot of people told me I was wrong. My timeline told me I was wrong because a lot of people loved the pick, and I hated the pick. To me, Zach Wilson was just a worse version of Sam Darnold, and if you couldn't make Sam Darnold work at the Jets, why would a worse version of Sam Darnold work there? Didn't make any sense to me. So their offense doesn't look good. Their defense doesn't even look that good, even with Robert Saleh there. It's a weird thing going on with the Jets right now. Titans.
Yeah, for me, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of analysis for this either, but I will say this. The Jets have as many points as they do interceptions in the last two games.
Let's go.
That being 6.
Something to celebrate.
Go Titans. Yeah, go Titans. It's not even a debate here.
Johnny?
Yeah, I'm not sure I could say anything else other than Titans are winning this one. Like they have had their offensive struggles, especially with the new offensive coordinator who was Todd Downing, who had his struggles with the Raiders as well. But even with this, the Jets are kind of in a bad spot, especially with the fact that the Titans are getting a lot of pressure recently, and that's not really good for the Jets, considering not only is their offensive line not good, but several of them are also throwing Zach Wilson under the bus. So very good locker room culture right there. Really quality locker room culture. Having said that, should win this one without too much of an issue.
Hey, so I got a question specific. Johnny or Pardew can answer this. Okay, our next matchup is between 1-2 teams. What do you think the matchup is?
It's Chiefs-Eagles.
You're probably looking at the schedule like I am. It is. Isn't that crazy to say the Chiefs are 1-2? I would also like to tell everybody the Chiefs are the same record as the Texans heading into Week 4. Let that one eat at you for a little bit. So we got the Texans and the Eagles here. Really weird to say because I feel like we would view the Chiefs very differently from the Texans and the Eagles, especially after last night's debacle that happened. Now, a piece of me believes the debacle happened not only because the Eagles are bad, but I am actually under the belief that I thought Dak Prescott was going to have a good year coming into the year, and he's looked better than good. I think he's looked really good. I won't say great, but he's looked really good. And him having full control of that dynamic offense has been part of why the Cowboys are scoring, right? They've scored 20-plus points in all 3 of their games. 41 Monday night, 20, I think 29 against the Bucks, and then 20 against the Chargers when they had a struggle. So it's not the Eagles' fault necessarily that they got bludgeoned, but at the same time, I wouldn't call this Eagles team very competitive, which is the opposite of their opponent. Kansas City is unlucky, I feel. If you watch the Chargers-Chiefs game, first of all, under Justin Herbert, and there's only been 3 games under Justin Herbert against the Chiefs, Justin Herbert has performed well against Kansas City. So that's one thing to know. Secondly, there's a couple things in that Chargers-Kansas City game. You watch it, you're like, one play in this whole game is different, right? And the same thing for the Kansas City-Baltimore game. One play, like just Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't fumble the ball. Game's probably over. All they have to do is hit the kick. Right? There's just or Baltimore going for it on 4th and 1. They don't get it on 4th and 1. That game's over because it was on the 38, I think, or 42, whatever. It was close enough for field goal range for the Chiefs easily. There's a case to be made for them to be 3-0, despite the fact their record is 1-2. And the Chiefs and the Eagles are not the same in that regard. The Eagles don't get that benefit of the doubt, right? They've gotten bludgeoned in the 2 games that they've lost, and they stomped the Falcons in the 1 game they won, but that's week 1, right? There's something to be said about week 1 when it comes to performance, but there's also something to be said for flukes in week 1, or teams not being ready, or maybe one team was just more prepared than the other, or injuries going into whatever it may be, right? Beginning of the season jitters, etc. If you ask me, though, Chiefs got this one against Philly pretty easily.
Yeah, for me, I was buying into the Eagles hype train the last 2 weeks a little bit, mostly because of Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts has performed well, but I think from top to bottom, that team is a bit too dysfunctional, especially to keep up with the Chiefs. Going a lot of what you said, there's not a whole lot more I need to say. The Chiefs are going to get the ship righted. Now, that defense, that worries me. And yeah, they added Josh Gordon or whatever, so they're going to add that to their big 3 or 4 offensively. So the offense, there's nothing to worry about with the Chiefs' offense. They're going to be fine. The defense worries me down the stretch, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal this week against the Eagles because they're struggling to put up points. So, yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs here. What say you, Johnny?
I would say Chiefs as well. Further going into the problems of the defense. I think the biggest problem with this defense is they just don't have a pass rush at all.
Correct.
Chris Jones should exclusively be a defensive tackle, but even then, I've heard he's maybe not giving as much effort as he should be, which is kind of off-putting because he's one of the best defensive tackles in football. Putting that aside. This is the pass rush that just lacks any effort, efficiency, consistency. They're at the bottom with the Lions in terms of pass rush win rate according to ESPN. And when you're in a statistic that you can be compared to the fucking Lions, that's not good. So that pass rush is that pass rush could take a while to really fix because they're not really even a piece away. Frank Clark, I think he was injured last week, but he has not really been all that good for the Chiefs outside of the playoffs, which I don't think fans really hold against him. But in the long run, it just really hasn't worked out. So. Those are basically the problems that I have for the Chiefs. That offense is obviously a supernova, which is really what I can't say about the Eagles. The Eagles, I think, do have a much better pass rush. Javon Hargrave, in particular, has been an absolute god this year. But I was kind of fooled by the Week 1 performance. I should have known that a Week 1 game against the Falcons probably isn't. It probably isn't going to be sustainable for the rest of the season. I'm not out on Jalen Hurts, but he's a pretty flawed quarterback. So if he's going to want to keep his job, he's definitely going to need to improve quite a bit in terms of his accuracy and placement. So even though they're on the road, I think I will take the Chiefs in this one. and like probably the over or whatever.
Especially if Carson Wentz keeps playing, the Eagles are going to have 3 first-round picks, so they have plenty of ability to go wherever they want in the draft. Wherever they want. And
one quick comment about Chris Jones. I'm sorry, Sanders. And the pass rush of the Chiefs. They've actually been playing Chris Jones out of position from his defensive tackle spot and putting him on the edge to try and generate pass rush.
Yeah.
That's how desperate they are.
Well, I mean, he used to play there at the beginning of his career for the Chiefs, but then he moved to defensive tackle, and now he's back at edge. Because that's how terrible that pass rush has been.
But by the way, I meant to say this. When you said Frank Reich, did you mean Frank Clark?
I thought I said Clark. I might have said it way too fast.
No
it would probably explain why a pass rush is so bad if they're playing Frank Reich out there.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised because the Eagles' offensive line is graded so highly and the Chiefs' pass rush is so poor. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Hurts had some time to make some magic work, but that's not going to be enough to convince me that Jalen Hurts is going to win a shootout against Patrick Mahomes, right? Because that's what that would come down to.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
So all 3 of us are picking Kansas City here. Johnny, I'm going to have you take this one away because this is one of your teams here. We got the 3-0 Dallas Panthers. Oh, my God. We got the 3-0 Carolina Panthers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Why don't you take this one away?
Yeah, this is kind of tough to really evaluate. I'm pretty sure the Panthers are a road team on this one, so I think I might take the Cowboys in this one.
It is in Jerry.
It's not necessarily. Yeah, it's not necessarily because I think the Panthers are a god awful team or whatever. I mean, they have had kind of an easy schedule or whatever, but that pass rush has been insane. There's so much talent on that side of the ball with Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, who you guys are very familiar with. He's been absolutely phenomenal to start the year. I forget the defensive tackle that they drafted. I keep forgetting his first name. Derek Brown. I don't know. I keep confusing with Deontay Brown, who I think is also on there, but yeah, Derek Brown. Morgan, they got a guy named Morgan Fox who's been pretty solid himself. But I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned about the Panthers team because not only because Dak Prescott, as you said before, is a really good quarterback and they have quite a bit of talent around him in terms of skill players, but the fact that in that Thursday night game, that secondary really got screwed. J.C. Horn is most likely out for the season, although it's not really official. I think this guy named Justin Burris that they have, he's also missing some time as well.
Henderson.
So, I saw that they did trade for him, but he was also having he was having really weird issues with the Jaguars. For some reason he was third on the depth chart, which is something that you don't want from your first overall pick from 2020. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm hoping that he and AJ Boye are enough to really shore that defensive line that secondary up. But against Dak, I'm not really hoping for much. So I'll take the Cowboys in this one. I do think the Panthers are a really talented group in terms of offensive playmakers, but against the Cowboys in Jerry World, I don't know. I personally think they'll come up a bit short. We'll see.
For me, I think honestly, and you could call me what you will. I'm a certified Cowboy hater.
You're a hater.
Yeah. So I hate the Cowboys. I hate everything they do. I think Mike McCarthy is one of the worst coaches in the league. But I can't deny that the talent offensively, especially for the Cowboys, is elite. Just bottom line. I think that loss of J.C. Horn is a big deal. Going into the draft, that was the player I wanted the Cardinals to take. That was the player I was in love with, and that was who I wanted above everybody. So with that being said, if he's gone for the season, what he was doing was, especially for a rookie in his first couple games, he was taking away 50% of the field. Quarterbacks weren't throwing his way. So I think that's going to be a really big deal. And I think C.J. Henderson, while whatever was going on with him and the situation with the Jags, I'm not convinced it was all necessarily him. The Jags are a dysfunctional organization in the first place. So we'll see how C.J. Henderson goes in the whole situation there, but it's definitely a downgrade. And coming into the first week, I don't even know if he will be active or not, so we'll see there. But with that being said, I think just due to the firepower that the Cowboys have, not that the Panthers don't either, because they have really elite offensive talent as well, but no Christian McCaffrey, because he'll be out for at least this week and probably next week as well. They said they didn't want to put him on IR because they believe he can be back within 3 weeks. We'll see how that hamstring goes, because that can always be a little finicky. But with that being said, I just think I got to give the edge to the Cowboys here, because Panthers got to go on the road. The offensive talent for the Cowboys, and due to the injuries that the two significant injuries that the Panthers have suffered on both sides of the ball, missing those two key guys, I think that'll hurt them, and I think that'll be the reason why they can't pull off a win this week.
So something I wanted to talk about for Dallas here, and you know what? I was going to text you this earlier, Pardue, when you were trolling me earlier about being a Dallas fan, but you're just going to keep calling me a Dallas fan more after I say this. And it really annoys me, because I've always been annoyed by Dallas fans. They still annoy me to this day. I'm confident that the Dallas team is going to be at least a 10-7 this year, and I'm going to get really annoyed when they make the playoffs and Dallas fans are like, "We're going to make it everywhere," and I'll. Anyway, I think what has most impressed me about Dallas going to the year is I talked about Dak being really good, right? I wouldn't call him great yet, but really good. I thought Dan Quinn being the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys would improve them. I didn't think it would make them top 15. I'm sure maybe categorically they rank top 10 right now, but they've had Quandre Diggs have 3 interceptions, 1 interception a week alone, and I think if last time I looked, they've totaled 7 turnovers in the last 3 weeks. Keep in mind, they've played Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts. Two of those quarterbacks some people, not everybody, some people would put in their top 10, right? Justin Herbert, some people would put Tom Brady and Justin Herbert in their top 10, right? Justin Herbert is a quarterback a lot of people love, and he's got a lot of talent. Jalen Hurts is, Jalen Hurts, whatever. But my point is that I did not expect Dallas's defense to be as good this early as it has been. It has been stopping the pass. It has been making plays, and it has been turning around games for Dallas when frankly, they probably should maybe be losing the game. Now, they did lose against Tampa Bay. Big shocker there. But I don't think they beat the Chargers without their defense, and that's not something I expected to say about Dallas moving forward into the season. I expected it just to be all offense and maybe like a 20th ranked defense kind of keeping them in the game, kind of not. You got to rely on Dak Prescott on the offense, and that's not what's happened here. So against Carolina here, a team that I have a soft spot for because I like Sam Darnold a lot, and I really want to see Sam Darnold do well. I think they encounter their first rough game simply because if the Cowboys continue their trend, they're going to force some turnovers here. And Sam Darnold, much as I love the guy, very well could be throwing an interception to the Cowboys here, and that could heavily influence the game, especially because I wouldn't put it past the Cowboys to score off that interception. So yeah, I'm with you, Pardue, here. I think the firepower is a little too great. Johnny sits in Jerry World. I agree that as annoying as we say Dallas fans are, they do provide a home field advantage. So I think the Panthers take their first L here as well.
Yeah, I guess we all pretty much agree on like every pick we've had so far.
Yeah, so far. I think we're all going to agree on the next one too. I'm gonna pick it by asking this way for us: is anyone willing to pick the Giants against the Saints? Like, is anybody? I'm not personally. They beat New England when I thought New England was going to win at home, and now the Saints are playing at home. And if I believe my information is correct, they were approved to start playing home games again this Sunday. I know they were approved. I don't know if it was for this Sunday or not, but I know they were just approved a couple days ago. So assuming that the approval a couple days ago means they can start playing home games immediately, the Saints do have a quote-unquote home game against New York. I'm assuming that's going to be in New Orleans. I don't see the Giants winning on the road against New Orleans. I'm still kind of wondering what Jameis Winston we're going to see. We've seen a Jekyll and Hyde kind of guy so far. Week 1, 175 yards, 5 TDs, not bad. A bit of a Hyde the following week, not very good against Carolina. And then this last week, pretty dang good against the Patriots. So I really wonder who we're going to see here. Do we get, good Jameis or bad Jameis? Who really knows? Or maybe this is just Tampa Bay Jameis with the better, offensive coordinator. But either way, I don't trust the Giants to be picking up a game here right now. Their offensive line is god-awful. It can't protect Daniel Jones, who's really just, an average quarterback who could win you games if you had a better roster around him, but you don't.
Yeah. And for me, I'm not picking the Giants, man. I'm not a big fan of Joe Judge. I don't think he should even really have a job. Daniel Jones. I want to give Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt really bad.
It's weird that he's kind of been the best part of the team this year, isn't it? It's a little weird.
I wouldn't necessarily even say it's weird. I just think it kind of goes to show how bad the team really is and how poorly coached they are. And it's not like Daniel Jones has been setting the world on fire with his arm or the passing game. It's been with his legs of all things. And if your best part and your biased part of your team and your offense is Daniel Jones' legs, I'm not picking you to beat the Saints.
I resent that. As a Ravens fan,
yeah.
I resent
yeah. So, yeah, I'm going Saints.
I would probably go Saints too. I think that what's wrong with the Giants is like in terms of skill player talent, it's not really all that bad, but it's just they don't have a plan. They have Saquon Barkley, they have Kadarius Toney, who they drafted in the first round, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Galladay, Evan Ingram, who when he does catch the ball is pretty good, but the problem is he coughs it up a lot. But they have all those guys. But they just don't have a plan, and like you guys said, Daniel Jones for some reason just feels like the best player on this team right now. And usually when your quarterback is your best player, that's a good sign. But when Daniel Jones, who's kind of an ordinary quarterback, is your best player, and it hasn't really been a good sign because the rest of the team has just been absolutely awful. There's no easy way to explain why everything is just collapsed, or why Jason Garrett or Joe Judge don't really have a plan for the skill talent that's around Daniel Jones. But hey, that's why they're 0-3 right now.
I will say the biggest thing is
bottom line.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think bottom line. I said, I think it comes down to coaching, and you said it yourself. Jason Garrett and Joe Judge. Two guys I'm not high on. Jason Garrett was let go from that offense with all those weapons in Dallas because he couldn't make it work. And now he got downgraded positional talent at every spot offensively and a lesser quarterback, and he can't make it work. So that's just where I think the Giants are at. I think they need a change of culture and a change of coaching.
So me personally, I don't think Joe Judge has done a phenomenal job. I'll put it that way. I wouldn't say I dislike him either. I don't like him, but I don't dislike him. If somebody asked me what was my true opinion on Joe Judge, I'd be like, he's there. And what I mean by that is I think the Giants' worst part is we just talked about it. Daniel Jones feels like their best player, right? Whether that's true or not statistically, couldn't tell you. Just when you watch the tape, Daniel Jones looks like the best player, right? Not even Saquon Barkley. And I truly feel like it's because of Dave Gettleman. I think their general manager has done nothing to help them in the last, 3 years now? You've been there since 2017, my guy, and we're sitting here 4 years later still wondering, what is the Giants' identity? What do they do? And what are they supposed to be, right? At first we thought, okay, you're going to draft him to be a running team, right? So you draft Saquon Barkley, you have Daniel Jones, that's fine, but then where's the offensive line to protect Daniel Jones? Where's the offensive line to create holes for Saquon Barkley? They don't exist. And then you sign a couple, linemen who are washed veterans, that you think are going to help you, and then you let go of your best card, Kevin Zeitler, and then a team like Baltimore goes and picks him up because they're like, yeah, you just let a really good guard go. See you later. I think Dave Gettleman actually deserves a huge, huge blame for how the Giants have been, because Joe Judge hasn't always been there over the last 4 years. Gettleman has, and they have not been competitive over the last 4 years. He's not put a roster for this team to work at all. But that's just how I personally feel.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Gettleman's just absolutely been garbage. And I can say as a Panthers fan that, he wasn't really good here either.
Yeah, not too nice to you. So, next one. This one should be fun. I really think it should be fun. And I think some Browns fans may be underestimating the team they're playing this weekend. The Browns play the Vikings this weekend, and it's in Minnesota, and I'm excited for this game. One thing to note here, Kirk Cousins has thrown for he's thrown for 917 yards, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. This guy has had 2 game-winning drives to where the Vikings should theoretically 3-0, but his kicker missed in Arizona, and his running back to set up the kick fumbled the ball. Like, Kirk Cousins has done everything to win the game, and he's had great chemistry with Jefferson, Thielen, and I still forget their wide receiver 3's name, despite the fact their wide receiver 3 has now had 2 incredible touchdown catches, one against Seattle and one against, it was the first play against Arizona. The very first play of the game, if I remember right.
Second play.
Yeah, very first game, yeah. So, this Vikings offense is really exciting to watch, and Kirk Cousins is the man of that offense. So, I'm excited to watch more Vikings if Kirk Cousins keeps it up. It's awesome to see. What's concerning about the Vikings is the worst part of their moments, their games, situations has been coaching decisions and defensive game plan, which is all on Mike Zimmer, right? The guy who was hired to take what used to be, the second coming of the Purple People Leaders, and he did do it for a while, but now those guys are older, some of them are gone, and this defense is just like a ghost of itself. Not even a shell of itself, just a ghost of itself. And I think that's concerning against a dynamic offense like the Browns. This is a really hard one to pick. And I think before all of us pick, I'd like to hear some other opinions on this. So, Johnny, what do you got on the Browns and Vikings?
I will say I personally think, like, in terms of like structure, the Browns are a more well-rounded team, especially with how their defense has responded this year. Well, pass rush in particular, it took a while for it took 3 games for the linebacking and secondary to really play at the same level. Which is why you saw the performance that you had against the Bears. In terms of the Vikings, as you said, they have a really good offense. Kirk Cousins has actually been off to a pretty damn good start, and there's no way they should be 1-2. Like, they very easily could have been 3-0 or something. But it's just their defense has also really struggled at the same time. They have been terrible against the Cardinals. They were not so good against the Bengals as well. They did bring Danielle Hunter back. He missed all of 2020 last year, and he's easily their best pass rusher, one of the best pass rushers in the game. But even then, and they also brought Everson Griffin. They brought Sheldon Richardson back. It just has not been good on that side of the ball, and I think unfortunately for them, that may be a part that the Browns really truly exploit, because the Browns have one of if not the best offensive lines in all of football, and the Vikings currently have one of the worst pass rushes in football, and especially one of the worst defenses in football. So if I had to pick, I think it'll be kind of a shootout, but I think the Browns win this one on the road.
Yeah, for me, when I'm looking at this game, this is a game where I want to see Baker Mayfield finally kind of break out this season, because we haven't really seen Baker do anything special. He's kind of been, I'm not necessarily going to say he's been carried by his defense and running game, but I definitely think that's played a more vital role in the Browns' success so far this season. This is a game where I think Baker could have for lack of a better way to put it, a get right game versus a really poor secondary. The Vikings' number one corner is Patrick Peterson, and he's giving up an 80% completion rate so far this season. And I've watched Patrick Peterson enough over the last multiple years of his career after he's gotten out of his prime and after that PED suspension to where I know he's not a great corner anymore. He's a solid number 2, even number 3 guy, and they're paying him $10 million to be their number 1 corner. And it's been rough for him and everybody else on the back end, and even up front for the Vikings defense. So when I'm looking at this game, I feel like it's a game that the Browns could really go off for some big points offensively, and it's a game where they can get their passing game right. With that being said, Kirk Cousins is off to a hot start, and he's been on my bench in fantasy behind Lamar Jackson, and I also have Baker Mayfield on my fantasy team. So those 3 guys, but so he's off to a torrid start, and he's got a lot of great weapons, but it's hard to win games when the coaching's been poor and the defense has been worse. So right now, yeah, I'm going Browns. So Bears-Lions, first of all, it's hard to even pick the Bears, not just because they're a dysfunctional team. And you know how I feel about the Bears, Johnny. I hate the Bears. I think they're the most disgusting, boring team to watch in the NFL. And I really mean it. Even like without Trubisky like being there anymore, like they're just incredibly boring brand of football. And they had a net total of one passing yard last week. That is an NFL team doing that. I'm not picking the Bears. They don't even know who their quarterback is going to be this weekend. So, yeah, I'm going Lions there. And then in terms of the Bills-Texans, yeah, I mean, the cool little story for Tyrod Taylor, who I assume is still probably not even playing this week. He was kind of, America's little hero, America's quarterback for the first week or 2 of the season, and now everybody's kind of returning to reality of, okay, Houston's kind of another dysfunctional organization, and the Bills should take care of it, no problem.
Yeah, these matches are they're so boring that I almost forgot for a sec that these even existed. I definitely do agree about the Lions. The Lions have been pretty unlucky. I don't know, losing on a 66-yard field goal, a 4th and 19, an obvious missed delay of game. Well, really, to be honest, I don't really care about the 4th 19 and delay of game all that much because no one before Sunday has ever successfully kicked a 66-yard field goal. So 99.9999999% of the time, you should be able to win that game. And apparently, the Lions are so cursed as a franchise that I was wrong that time. Having said that, the Lions obviously are not good, but they are not the Chicago Bears, who are very, very, very bad. They have a capable defense. Capable defense, as we all know. Khalil Mack is there. Akeem Hicks has been solid as per usual. But oh my goodness, I think Matt Nagy personally might be the worst, the absolute worst. And keep in mind, this is coming from someone who, as a Browns fan, had to put up with Hugh Jackson and Freddie Kitchens. Matt Nagy might be the worst fourth down play caller I have ever seen. It's whenever the Bears are in 3rd or 4th down, they're fucked. I saw one of the plays against the Browns. It was 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 or whatever. It was a pitch toss. The Bears offensive line is not good. And when you consider all the speed on the Browns pass rush on that defensive line, why would you make that call? Why would you make that play call a thing? Just roll Justin Fields out of the pocket, let him try to find an open receiver. Instead, you play right into the Browns' advantages, which is speed, which is a high motor, which is something that they tried aggressively to build, and in the case of this game, have greatly succeeded. So yeah, I don't know, Matt Nagy obviously knows way more about the X's and O's in football than all of us combined or whatever, but in terms of 3rd down and 4th down play calling, it is absolutely atrocious. I have never seen like a play calling on those levels as bad as him. So yeah, I think the Lions are going to win this one. And my in-depth thoughts on Bills Texans, I actually have quite a bit to say about that. So yeah, I think the Bills win that one. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, solid analysis there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my Colts divisional win pick looks so bad, especially because they play the Dolphins this week, and I would pick the Dolphins to beat the Colts right now. I would, even with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. They put up a fight against the Raiders, and the Colts are just whimpering. I don't know what it is. Like, it's not just Carson Wentz. A lot of people could say it is just. It's not. It's really not. As a team overall, the running game's not working. Jonathan Taylor's not doing what he was supposed to be doing under that offensive line. The defense isn't stopping people as often as they should be. I don't know what's going on in Indianapolis right now, but it's not right. It's not good. And it feels weird to... A team with their talent has to win a game eventually, right? This is the perfect game for them to bounce back and go 1-3, right? And try and build something. At the same time... Do I see the Dolphins starting their season 1-3? It's a really harsh reality that's going on right now, and makes it hard to pick. Like you can't keep picking the Colts to lose. They're too good of a roster to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like I could pick the Dolphins to be 1-3 either with their coaching, regardless of Jacoby Brissett being at quarterback or not. They showed last week they don't need. Tua to be a quarterback. They don't need an elite quarterback. Their roster and their coaching is good enough to be competing. It's a weird case for them. And I should say one comment on Carson Wentz. He hasn't looked great. He really has not. I definitely feel like because the way the Colts were managing their offseason in this year, it definitely feels like the Colts expected there to be bumps, and they're hoping like a year 2 situation, right? Because if you're giving up a first-round pick for Wentz, if you play him that much, right, you have to play him the next year, I feel. Or at least that's in your game plan. So I don't know totally what's going on with this Colts. Maybe they turn it around later, right? We have seen a 1-5 Colts team march on to 10-6, but that was also under Andrew Luck. And the more and more we talk about the Colts, the more and more I just miss Andrew Luck all the time.
Same.
Dude, he was so much fun to watch. I hate that the Colts got a decent offensive line after he had to leave. It's pain.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I'm picking Miami. They're in Miami. I don't think they could put up another dud at home. Tough call, honestly, but yeah, Miami for me.
So for me, when I'm looking at this, is you mentioned Tua and Jacoby Brissett. I don't see much of a drop-off between those two guys. I've said it multiple times. Nothing impresses me about Tua. I just think he's kind of a guy. And with the coaching and the roster that he has surrounding him, he's good enough to win for that team. With that being said, both of these teams have looked really, really rough. And I think for the sake of having a pick be different, I'm just going to go Colts here because I expect Frank Reich to have his guys, especially because I think overall the skill positional talent on the Colts is just a little bit better than the Dolphins as well. So I'm just going to give them a little bit of an edge there, as well as defensively. I think they have the edge. So I just think due just to overall talent, I'm just going to go Colts here.
I am personally going to have to side with the Dolphins on this one. I personally don't think the coaching has been like all that stellar, especially against the Raiders, where they kicked that game tying field goal on 4th and 2 instead of really going for it. Well, and really the third down play where it was like a shovel pass to Mike Gesicki, like well short of the 6. I don't know necessarily why they would do that. Also, they made some pretty dubious history by becoming the first team to get a safety on a pass completion, not on a pass completion in the end zone, not an incompletion, not a pass completion that was negated by a holding penalty or some kind of penalty in the end zone. This was a pass completion. This was a successful play that failed And it's one of the craziest things in a crazy sport such as football. Having said that, I think the Dolphins will win this one, and it's kind of because like the Colts they've just collapsed everywhere. Like Carson Wentz hasn't really been all that good, but he's playing on two sprained ankles. He's constantly shown that he's made of glass. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're rushing him to like really save the season, or like he's really really trying to get out there, but it's not looking good. But it seems like every position has collapsed. The offensive line is giving up by far the most quarterback hits, and that's not even a cause of Carson Wentz holding a ball too long in the pocket. He's still doing that much more than we want him to, but oddly enough, the pass protection is regressing as well. It's near the bottom in the pass block win rate, and also on the other side about like you guys mentioned, they're not stopping the run at all. It's tough because obviously I don't think they're going to finish 0-17. They're not going to finish close to 0-17. But I was also not very high on them before the season. I think I predicted them to go like 7-10 or 8-9 or something. I just didn't really see any sustained success, and that was mostly because I wasn't really too high on Wentz. Obviously after 2020, but going into this game, there's far more problems than just Wentz playing playing limp or whatever. I don't know. I'm going for Miami this one. I feel more optimistic about them than I do the Colts.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. Like I said, it's not just Carson Wentz. The line's not playing well. Jonathan Taylor's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. It's crazy. Next one is, I don't have a lot to say about this one, honestly. Washington football team versus the Falcons. I have dubiously dubbed the Falcons as the second worst team in football already. I'm kind of shocked that they beat the Giants, so maybe they're not the second worst team in football, but I'll definitely keep them in the bottom 5. I don't think Washington is that bad, at least in comparison to the Falcons here. Matchup-wise, coaching-wise, talent-wise, I definitely favor Washington over the Falcons here. I feel bad for Matt Ryan. Dude consistently has over 4,000 yard seasons, plays relatively well. Doesn't matter. His team can never win games. And it's just because either coaching problems or defense is bad, or they just have unlucky collapses because they score well in the first 2 to 3 quarters and then they just don't score again and they watch the other team come back. So yeah, I definitely give the edge to Washington here. Not a ton for me to say on this matchup.
Yeah, I don't have a ton on this one either. And to be quite honest, I haven't watched enough of the Falcons this year, or gone out of my way to watch enough of the Falcons to really give a true analytical opinion on them. But just given the fact that I know defensively the talent outmatches the offensive talent for the most part for the Falcons, I'm going to give the edge to the Washington football team here as well.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to give it to Washington as well. Yeah, I'm just not high on the lane at all. They were pretty lucky to win that Giants game too. I saw Matt Ryan throw for 2 or 3 dropped interceptions, especially one in the end zone where I think he threw a touchdown to Calvin Ridley. I'm not sure who it was, but I think it was Ridley. A play before, or a couple plays before, he had a crucial dropped interception. So yeah, he has really not been good. And I don't know, I just don't trust this team right now to really make any substantial noise, or to even win more than 5 games on the year. That doesn't necessarily mean I think that Washington is particularly good. That defense has been a huge disappointment. I don't know what's really going on with them. They didn't really have I didn't really expect the secondary to be all that great, but that pass rush it's just not performing to the level we're expecting. Ryan Kerrigan especially has just been an absolute ghost. He has no stats, no sacks, no quarterback hits. I don't even know if he has any pressures at all. But having said that, I slightly think more about Washington slightly than I do the Falcons. So I'm going to have to pick Washington in this one.
All right, so let's just pick the NFC West matchups here because those are the next two, and it's all NFC West here. There's a lot I could say about the Seahawks, but I want to save it for after the first quarter of the season is over, which will be next week's episode. So I'm going to keep this one short. I'm going to be honest. Jimmy G led a game-winning drive Sunday night. It just sucks that his opponent was Aaron Rodgers. And that's exactly why the 49ers lost anyway. Props to Jimmy G, though, for, coming in clutch. He did his job, right? He had a bad fumble that probably should have lost in the game. And he came in clutch, took his team down, won the, quote-unquote, won the game. Too bad. Your opponent was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has 5 games I can think of where he's had less than 40 seconds with no timeouts, and he's gone on to win the game or tie the game. Sucks to be you, dude. And they're playing against the Seahawks, who I'm not sure there's enough help around Russell Wilson to. I mean, yes, I really like DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett is definitely amazing too. I don't think there's enough help around Russell Wilson as a whole to compete with a better roster like the 49ers have. The 49ers consistently can show me what they showed against Green Bay on Sunday night, and the Seahawks have been showing me what they've been showing me the last 3 weeks. I feel like the 49ers are trending better than the Seahawks, so I have to pick the 49ers in this case. As for Cardinals-Rams, this is very shallow analysis, but I have to stick with it, okay? We have yet to see Sean McVay lose to the Cardinals. And for whatever reason, even when the Rams have a backup on the field, the Cardinals just can't get it done. I don't know why. And I totally think the Cardinals could do it this Sunday. They totally can. I'm not saying they can't. They totally can. But I got to keep going with history. I can't believe I said the Bucs were going to beat the Rams. I was so wrong. Defensively, the Rams have actually not been that great, but offensively, they've been on fire, so it doesn't matter. I still gotta go. I still gotta go with the Rams here. But I would like to put the caveat that I won't be surprised if Arizona wins this weekend either. But I have to make a pick. I picked the Rams and the 49ers to win this weekend.
So for me, for the Seahawks and 49ers, personally, I know Jimmy G led his game-winning drive. I know the offense looked decent against the Packers. And I know the 49ers looked well and have looked well so far this season. But I still trust Russell Wilson and company to bounce back against to me, the 49ers are still probably the smallest threat in the NFC West, comparatively speaking to the other 3 teams in there. So I'm going to give the edge to Seattle. I think this game could really, truly go either way, especially because it's a divisional NFC West game, and that's usually how they all go, unless we're talking about the Rams and Cardinals because they've kicked our ass for 4 years. It doesn't make that much of a difference to me. I don't think the 49ers fan base is really all that impactful, to be quite honest. So with that being said, I think I'm going to go Russell Wilson. I think the connections he's had with DK and Tyler Lockett, they can get after that 49ers defense, and they'll be able to come out of there with a victory. In terms of Cardinals and Rams, I really hope it's not another one of those games. You know what? So, and I really don't think it will be. So the Cardinals haven't beat the Rams in 4 years, and now part of that is because some of those games were led by Josh Rosen and Steve Wilkes, and Bruce Arians also can't beat the Rams. He can't even beat the Rams with Tom Brady and one of the best rosters in the NFL. But with that being said, the Cardinals haven't beat the Rams in 4 years, but eventually that streak's got to get snapped. And the Cardinals in the very first matchup against the Rams last year were very, very close. And now compare it to the roster now that the Cardinals have built. They've bolstered the defensive line. They've bolstered the offensive line. They've improved their weapons offensively. The secondary as a whole is better this year than it was last year. I think the Cardinals now match up better against the Rams than they have at any point over the last 4 years. Now, is it going to be enough? I don't know. I think it would be enough to beat the Jared Goff-led Rams. I'm not 100% sure it's going to be enough to beat the Matthew Stafford led Rams. And now I think this game can honestly go either way. I think this is going to be an extremely close game. I don't think people are giving the Cardinals enough credit because they're only one of two teams in the entire NFL that have a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. The other team is the Browns, by the way. With that being said, I think this game's going to be a banger. I wish it could get flexed to Sunday Night Football. I think it's going to be a lot closer
not
and a lot
Sunday
better
nights, I'm sorry, bro.
Dude, no one cares about how Tom Brady's going to go there and beat the Patriots' ass. It's not going to be a good game. If we want a truly good game on primetime TV, it would be Rams and Cardinals. Now, I get it. It's because, Tom Brady's going back to New England, blah, blah, blah.
It's about ratings, and a lot of people will tune in the first half just to tune in.
That's fine. But with that being said, I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people give it credit for. Now, am I picking the Cardinals? Nah, I'm not. I am going to go against my team this week just because of history, and I will love to be proven wrong. But until then, I got to go with history here, and I got to say Rams just because of the upgraded position at quarterback with Matthew Stafford. But then again, Cardinals have had Matthew Stafford's number. Granted, it was when he was with the Lions. But we'll see how it goes. I'm really looking forward to the game this week. It's about as big as a Week 4 matchup can get, so it'll be a good one.
I want to let you know why the Cardinals are going to lose, okay? Because they're going to win at home when we go see them on Monday Night Football, my guy. That's what's going to happen.
You're so
I can't wait for that game, dude. It'll be so exciting. Johnny, you got anything on Cardinals Rams?
Yes. And Seahawks and 49ers too. I'm just gonna give some quick picks on this one. I think Russell Wilson ultimately bullshits his way.
That's a great way to phrase it.
Past 49ers. This is first half Russell Wilson. He's usually like this form of Russell Wilson. He's usually like the best quarterback ever. It's just in like the second half of the season where he fizzles off and becomes like ordinary good instead of like this absolute god that he was in the first half. So it is week 4, so we should see some first half Russell Wilson, even if the Seahawks are the worst team in the NFC West currently. So I don't know, I'm going to pick the Seahawks as an upset for here. As for Rams Cardinals, the Rams do have the Cardinals number. They do have Matthew Stafford, and they do have Sean McVay. That combination has been extremely healthy. They certainly do look like a Super Bowl favorite right now. I think I'm gonna unfortunately have to go with the Rams with this one. Considering they're a home team, I think this is like a series that could be split. So I think the Cardinals later win at home, and the Rams win at home as well. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Rams in this one.
All right, so we all pick Rams, and then 2 Seahawks, 1 49ers. Now, we've kind of already talked about the Steelers' woes here, so I don't think there's a lot more to say about it. Big Ben, let's just face it, looks washed. I really like Najee Harris, looks good. Their wide receiver group is good. They just need a better quarterback. If Ben Roethlisberger gets better, good for them, but it just doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. They go play Green Bay in Lambeau Field off a big win. I don't see it happening. Green Bay.
Nope. Yeah, I'm picking Green Bay as well.
Yeah, Steelers again smoke. Big Ben is dust.
And it's funny is I feel bad for not saying much about the Packers here, but honestly, this is mostly about how the Packers. I mean, maybe not saying much is saying something because they're just that much of a better team than the Steelers look, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
No, it's what else is there to say? Can't say the Packers are proving that they're the real deal. Well, yeah, in comparison to the Steelers, it's kind of obvious. Aaron Rodgers is way better at this point than Big Ben. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's pretty much all you got to say about it. Next one. So I always pick my game last. So we got Ravens Broncos. One of you two can take this one first. I think it's an interesting matchup. I know the Broncos have had kind of more or less a cakewalk to go 3-0, but they've looked good doing it. It hasn't been just we've barely won our cakewalk game. No, they've done it in good fashion, and I like that a lot. And I think that's nice for some of these rookies here. Surtain and stuff like. Anyways, I said I wasn't going to talk much about it. You guys take this one away.
So for me, I don't know. What I've seen out of the Ravens so far this year is making me a bit nervous. There's been a lot of inconsistency.
Yes.
The win against the Chiefs was great and all, but we're also kind of questioning how good the Chiefs really are. It's nothing against their offense. It's just how bad that defense is. So I'm not necessarily not putting a good amount of stock into that Chiefs win, but you barely beat the Lions. It took an NFL record field goal to beat the Lions, and Lamar Jackson is struggling. Like if I love Lamar Jackson a lot.
No, I'm going to stop you there. He's had arguably his best passing year. I will not even take that one. He has been.
Yeah. I'm going to have to side with you as well on this. He had like 3 drop touchdowns.
That's fair. I'll give that to you guys. But until I really see that more consistently, I'm really not going to buy it.
Watch the last game that happened. He probably had, even though they didn't score a lot of points, he had probably his best throwing game. Literally.
Okay, and maybe that's fair, and maybe this is just me as a fantasy owner. Okay. Fantasy owner speaking.
4th and 19 too. 4th 19. Fourth 19. He threw that watermelon seed to Sammy Watkins. That was an unreal throw, I will say. Sorry, continue.
All right. So anyway, I think he's going against probably the best defense he's faced so far this season. And I think going against that secondary isn't going to play into his favor. Now, I think I'm picking the Ravens to win this game, and it's simply because I'm not sure I'm buying what the Broncos are putting down. Only because their combined win percentage of their opponents is 0%. So I'm going Ravens, but it's an unconfident pick in the Ravens.
I might actually go with an upset pick and pick the Broncos. I'm not really too high on the Ravens defense right now, which is kind of surprising because usually the Ravens are able to put together a quality defense. But without Marcus Peters in the secondary, it's just I don't know, like maybe that alone has like really affected the rest of the defense. But this is really not the same kind of unit that they've had in previous seasons. And I personally am a pretty big Lamar Jackson fan. Like I understand he's maybe not the greatest passer of all time, but he's just too much fun to watch. And I think he's also a lot better than people really give him credit for, especially in the passing department. Where I don't know. It's just like people treat him like he's the absolute worst passer of all time. Or it's like are we watching the same game? Like I understand he has some accuracy issues, but I don't know. I've seen this several times where I've seen this in several places where it's like all right, Lamar Jackson is basically a quarterback that passes first and runs last. So if a passing lane isn't completely open, that's when he drops his eyes and decides to become a cheat code runner, which is something I personally agree with. So I don't know. I think his passing ability is better than giving him credit for, but I do not trust his offensive line at all. I don't really trust the receivers to actually catch anything Lamar Jackson throws to them, and I certainly don't really trust. Yeah, I certainly don't trust this defense at all. So, and especially considering the altitude usually favors the Broncos this early in the season, I'm going to have to pick the Broncos in an upset.
So, funnily enough, I don't think this is an upset, and I'm picking Denver here, and let me tell you why. It all comes down to talent. I don't actually think the Baltimore secondary has been actually that much of a major issue. The fact that they held down Tyreek Hill, and they couldn't hold down Kelsey. They had to let someone pop off, but at the end of the day, they chose the right person to pop off. But they held down the wide receivers of the Chiefs, which I think was a fine job. They held down the Lions. Week 1, they didn't really hold down anyone week 1. They let Derek Carr burn them for over 460 yards. Secondary is not my issue, though. What my issue is what you saw in Week 2, and it happened against the Lions, too, and I think it's going to happen against Denver. And I spoke about it before, tackling in the middle of the field. I don't know what it is. It's not happening. They're missing tackles. These players that shouldn't be missing these tackles, like Elliott, Queen, I forget. Oh, my goodness. It's not Josh Bynes. I forget my other guy's name at the moment. Embarrassing. Jalen Ferguson. They're missing tackles when they shouldn't be. And it's frustrating to watch. And I think against more shifty players, like everybody that Denver has on the offense, from Gordon to Fant to even Teddy Bridgewater's kind of mobile, right? Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence to me. And to what Pardue said, I think Lamar will have the entire passing game as a whole will have a tougher time against a much better secondary. Matchup-wise, I don't think this is a great matchup for Baltimore. I think what does possibly play into Baltimore's favor is they have the better quarterback, and that helps. And we've seen Lamar has, for 3 games in a row, taken over games. For 3 games in a row, he has led fourth-quarter drives to go-ahead touchdowns. For 3 games in a row, he has done what most people have criticized him not to do, which is rise up in the fourth quarter when you're behind. So it's not that it can't be done. I just think this is a bad matchup. It's weird, and maybe the Denver's a fake 3-0, right? Because, as Pardue said, winning percentage opponents is 0-9. He's totally right there and totally validated in picking Baltimore for that reason. But I think it's a bad matchup for Baltimore. This Baltimore team is not what we thought it would be, at least not at the moment. So I actually got Denver winning as well. And as for the Sunday night game, that's going to be the most hyped up Sunday night game ever and probably the most overrated. And I hope to God it's not. I really, really hope Mac Jones just has a coming out party. I really hope this is a great game. Probably won't be. Buccaneers, Patriots. We're not going to tell you about the homecoming. We're not going to make it all dramatic because you'll get that all week. I'm just going to make my pick here. Tom Brady beats his former team because he has the better roster on his side. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure if Mac Jones, as a rookie, just as a rookie, not saying Mac Jones in general, I'm not sure if Mac Jones as a rookie will play well because he'll be playing in a spotlight of, I am playing the guy against the guy I replaced, I am playing against the GOAT. On Sunday night, there's this big hullabaloo about Tom Brady. The crowd themselves will be cheering for Tom Brady. Not during the game, but before the game starts, right? There is so much for a low 20-something-year-old to try and play up to. And it probably just doesn't happen. So, Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try and get into this one. The talent for the Buccaneers is so much higher than the Patriots, and just given the fact that Tom Brady's coming off a loss and now he's going back to result, not even being close.
Yeah, I do have my concerns about the Buccaneers defense, but the Patriots right now are not the kind of team that can exploit those. I think they're I think the passing game might be dead last in average depth of target. Like Mac Jones is really not pushing the ball downfield. I don't even think Josh McDaniels is even letting him do that. So yeah, and also Tom Brady apparently plays like he's like 25 every season. He's got some good HGH from his trainer. So I'm gonna have to pick the Bucs in this one. So yeah. Also, I think Tom Brady is less than 100 passing yards away from breaking the all-time passing yardage record that Drew Brees holds, and like the fact that he's most likely going to do it against the Patriots, this could not be written any more fake than it is.
I mean, I said that last year when Tom Brady's first year with Tampa Bay, I'm like, oh, Tampa Bay is going to host the Super Bowl, so of course Tom Brady's going to go and win it because it just has to happen, right? And I was kind of joking about it, and then it happened. Like, of course Tom Brady would be the first quarterback to win in his home stadium. What a big shocker. Monday night, I think will be fun. This is an AFC West matchup, Raiders versus Chargers. This should be a lot of fun. I hate myself for this. I'm picking the Chargers here. And it's because the Raiders got to lose eventually, and I think they should have lost against Miami at some point because they just blew a lead. It's ridiculous. I'm not a big fan of this Chargers roster. I have questioned many times why people were hyping them up to get into the playoffs. I just didn't get it. I still kind of don't get it. I watched that Dallas Chargers game, and I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. And then they beat the Chiefs, and I'm like, all right, maybe I get it a little bit. And here I am picking them to beat the Raiders because it's in L.A., Raiders got to lose at some point, and Justin Herbert has not been afraid to play to the moment. I think they can win this one.
Yeah, you've been on like the Chargers hate train since the beginning. I've been trying to tell you. So we gotta quadruple down on that take. And yeah, I'm going Chargers as well. I don't think what Derek Carr has done is going to stay super consistent. And I will give him some credit because people are trying to knock him down and saying, oh, the only reason he's the passing yards leader is because he's had 2 different almost full overtime periods. And while that's true, he's only had 109 passing yards in those overtime periods. And even if you take those away, he's still number 2 in pass yards. So Derek Carr has still been really, really good. If the season ended today, he's probably my MVP pick. But with that being said, I think the Chargers are a lot better than you, Sanders, give them credit for.
Hey, I picked them. I did pick them.
I know. Finally, it's about time we're starting to come around. So yeah, I'm going for it.
I kind of want to go on a bit of a rant about the Chargers, like a positive rant, because personally, the way I see it, I love the Chargers. I personally love the Chargers. They're the most exciting team in football, and every time I get the chance to, I like to say this a lot. It's not necessarily because I think they're the best team in the league. They're clearly not. It's just like whenever you watch the Chargers, you're never going to get a boring game. It's basically kind of like the Seahawks, but on steroids, where they're always in a close game in the fourth quarter, and regardless if they win or lose, they're never gonna win or lose in a boring way. They had to invent a new kind of way to fucking lose. Whether it's finally get a game-winning field goal off after 3 consecutive offsides penalties, or fumbling a kneel down, which results in you losing in overtime. Right? That's actually something they did in 2011 against the Chiefs. The Chargers in the fourth quarter are an absolute treat to watch. They are absolutely incredible, and it also does help that the rosters they have are never boring. Justin Herbert, piss missile master. He has easily one of the best arms in football right now. So some of the throws he had against the Chiefs were mind blowing. There was one where he was rolling. He was rolling to his left, and he threw it basically 55 yards across his body into the end zone. It was broken up, but the velocity and the arc of the pass was it was like a Randy Johnson fastball. I'm sure you guys know who Randy Johnson is. I don't think I need to go into deep explanation of that. But long story short, I love I love how exciting and full of chaos the Chargers are. And having watched the Raiders, I do think they're a lot of fun to watch. I think the defense has taken steps of improvement. The pass rush looks way better than it has last year. Max Crosby is on another level right now, and so is Yannick Ngakoue. And also the offense. Derek Carr is last year was one of the best deep passes in the league, it just looks like he's taking that to a whole nother level right now. And the fact that this is a quarterback that earlier in his career was afraid to take shots. He was more calculated. He was more willing to throw short of the sticks. Now it seems like he's hitting that gunslinger mentality, that gunslinger reputation that a lot of people were eager to give him during his first few years in the season, but it was something that he never really earned until kind of right now, where he's pushing the ball further down the field. Having said this, while the Chargers are at home, I don't think in their case it really matters much because they really don't have fans in that stadium at all, which is unfortunate because this is a very exciting team. It's just, I think in Los Angeles, you're going to see a shit ton of Raiders fans there. So I don't know. I feel like I'm going to get I'm going to curse them by picking the Chargers to win this one because I do think Brandon Staley is a better decision maker than Anthony Lynn was. You saw that when he was going for the win instead of playing not to lose when he tried to go for it on a 4th and 9, and it kind of worked because they got a penalty. This is tough. It's going to be a really, really fun game. I think for now, gun to my head, I think I'm going to have to pick the Chargers. I am on another podcast tomorrow making predictions, and I could change my pick to the Raiders, but for now I'm going to go Chargers.
That's hilarious. So as of Tuesday night, we got him on the Chargers. Well, let us know if you change it tomorrow. Anyway,
Absolutely.
so that wraps up this week for us. We are at an hour and 40, so it's not bad. We're only 10 minutes over what we normally do with our guests. You know what, Johnny? Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you being here. You guys can follow him at Brickwall Blitz. He makes some good content. He tweets so much about NFL stats. So if you need a stat guy, we'll even shout him out on Twitter. Like, this is the guy to follow for those kind of things. So thanks for all you do, man.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the pod.
All right, cool. Pardue, you got anything?
Oh, man. Sorry, excuse me. Thanks again, Johnny. We really appreciate it. It was a pleasure having you on.
Hey, not a problem. Just give me a link for like whenever it comes up. Whenever it does come up, no worries.
All right, sweet. So we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for those who are listening. You can follow the show at HC Analyst. Follow me at HC_Sanders, or follow Pardue at HC_Pardue. That is a wrap for us, and we will see you all